My name is Daniel Karoma. I'm the Business Liaison Officer here in Montgomery County. Thank you for joining us for this Q&A session. We'll give folks about 1 more minute and we'll get started. I see there are more people joining the webinar. So in about a minute, we'll get started. Meanwhile, if you have questions, please start inputting those questions on the chat box. And as soon as we give a high overview of the program and then some updates, then we will go right into the Q&A session. All right, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Daniel Karoma. I'm the Business Liaison Officer here in Montgomery County. You're joining us for the Montgomery County Public Health Emergency Grant Program webinar. And again, these are Q&A sessions based on those who have applied and that may have questions, or those who are preparing to apply that may have questions, or some of our business resource partners who have been very helpful in helping our nonprofits and for-profit businesses here in the county to fill out the application. Just to give you a couple of updates. In the last 24 hours, some of you may already have heard about this. We received over 3,600 applications, and we are working as fast as possible to ensure that the reviewers are able to review for eligibility, but also in terms of how much those entities qualify for up to the $75,000 that was stipulated in the legislation, and then those who also apply for the additional 2,500 Telework, grants will also be added to that, up to 2,500 as well. Now, in terms of the eligibility, as we talked about, you must demonstrate a significant loss in revenues, and for the month of March, and that's how it will be determined. And you must be eligible for the program itself in order for you to be able to get the Telework hardware or software grant as well. For those of you who may just be joining us for the first time, the program was a legislation that was passed by the County Council, signed by the County Executive to establish $20 million to help our for-profit and non-profit businesses here in Montgomery County. Sole proprietors, independent contractors are also eligible to apply. And again, the guidelines that were set was that, those who have, incur a significant loss in revenues could get up to $75,000. Now, that being said, this is the website. So I'm just going to highlight that so that for those of you who are here for the first time, you know exactly where to go to get all this information. This website is up and running. Quickly, number one, again, I talked about eligibility. Your principal place of business must be here in Montgomery County, or you must have 50 or more of your employees working in the county in order for you to be eligible, or your gross sales must be 50% or more in the county. In terms of what you need to prepare, we're looking for 2 years financials if you've been in business for 2 years, or if your nonprofit has been established for more than 2 years. If you're a sole proprietor, we need 2 years of your Schedule C in your personal tax return. We don't need the entire personal tax returns. We only need the Schedule C in the return. In addition to those 2-year historical financials, we also need monthly financial, history as well. So we're going to need, if you do file interim tax returns, provide that to us. If not, your monthly P&L months of January, February, and March, because that's how we'll determine. The 2 years will help us determine the year over year, but also the monthly averages, the top line averages, for each month for the last 2 years. And then when we then look at the January, February, March, we'll be able to determine revenues, which will then deem the entity eligible or ineligible for to receive the grant. So that's why, again, just to be clear, we need the historical financial information, 2 years of that if you have it. If you haven't filed your 2019 taxes, provide your 2018 and 2017. If you've been in business for less than 2 years, just provide maybe your 2019 taxes and then your monthly P&Ls for January, February, March. In addition to that, we're also going to need your business registration information. So apart from sole proprietors and faith-based organizations that are not required to register with the state, if you are an S Corp, a C Corp, a B Corp here in Maryland, if you're an LLC, LLP, all those entities, those business entity types, make sure you provide those articles for us. If you are a nonprofit, we're going to need your IRS tax exempt letter. So submit that with your application as well. Excuse me. Now, you need to ensure that your entity is in good standing with the state. Again, except if you're a sole proprietor or faith-based organization. And we've provided the information right here where you can go and check if your business or your nonprofit is in good standing with the state. The reason for that is because the county would be unable to grant you any funds if you're not in good standing with the state. So that's why we're asking all businesses and nonprofits to go and check if you're in good standing with the state. And you have to be prepared to execute a grant agreement with the county. And what does that mean? It means that basically the application you're submitting right now, if you are eligible and you receive the grant, you will need to sign that grant letter, the grant offer letter that will be sent to you by our folks in the finance department. And once you send that back to us, you're agreeing that the county basically, would have the rights to audit your financials just for these purposes, to ensure that the application you submitted is in line with the the expenditures that you've made. Also, there are reporting criteria that are needed as well, and this is needed for all entities that have been granted money by the county. So, for example, we're going to need exactly receipts for the transactions that you've done based on the application that you submitted. Also, because these are taxpayer funds, they're public information, so the name of the entity that is granted and the amount that is granted. So just want to be clear, not the financial information, no, just the name of the entity and the amount granted will be made public because, again, these are public funds. Also, by filling out and submitting this application, you are affirming to the county that all the information you are submitting is correct and accurate, and it will be under the penalty of perjury. So we just want to make sure that disclosure is on every grant program that for organizations that apply for grants to the county. That being said, again, that's just a high overview of the program itself, the eligibility, but also the documents that you need. Many of you have applied, and we are asking that you continue, for those who have not applied, to continue to apply. As I say, we're working not only today, we're working tomorrow to make sure that we are able to hear from us as soon as possible. All right. With that being said, so some of the updates we've done recently is around what did we deem to be a significant loss in revenues. We've gotten many of those questions. So if you have seen a 50% loss in revenues in the month of March, that's the amount that we are basically looking at. The month of March is the time period. Why? Because that's the time when the governor issued the executive order. So I think the executive order was issued on March 5th. So the entire month of March is what we're looking for. And again, we're looking at the significant loss in revenues, and 50% is what we deem to be 50% or more is what we deem to be significant loss in revenues. We've also gotten many questions around, well, many entities will not see loss in March, and many entities will see losses in April, May, and June. And we totally understand that, and that's why we're not closing the application. So there's no deadline for the application, and which means that if the application is still open, and if we have the funds, when we come into, after we exhaust the March losses, if we come into April, and we'll make sure that all of you are aware of that, you will come back and update your application. You don't have to reapply again for the month of April. If we have the funds, and at that time the entities that have incur a significant loss in revenues for the month of April, they'll be able to submit an updates to the application. So I think those are the two biggest updates I have to give based on some of the questions we've received in the past. And with that being said, let's go ahead and take questions. I don't see any questions on the chat room. So if you can unmute yourself and ask your question, just name, just your name and your entity, and then you can ask your question. All right, I see someone is trying to speak, but I can't hear you. Is that Churchill Grove? You have to unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry. Now, sorry, I have to get my kids to help me. I was wondering, I didn't see anywhere if it said that the funds need to be used for anything specific, like payroll or utilities or whatever. So I just wanted to check about that.
Yeah, so in the application itself, and by the way, we've also provided samples of the applications right here.
Okay.
So we have samples of the application right here. You can download the entire application just as a sample, just for you to take a look at all the questions. In the application, we've requested the use of funds, but we want you to submit percentages of the use of funds. So I know, like we're asking if you're going to be using this money for rent, for utilities, for payroll. So you will only indicate percentages. Are you going to use 40% of it for your payroll expenditures, or are you going to use 20% for your utilities, 30% for rent? So we're asking for those percentages on the application itself.
Okay.
And I just highlighted the sample application. So if you're on the website, you can download that and see all the questions that are on the online form. But just to be clear, the only way you can apply is by, again, going all the way down and click the apply button and fill out the online form. You will not be able to submit the PDF sample.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. See, question came in. All right. Okay. Should we expect a confirmation number or email after submission? Isabel, yes, you will get. Every application has an application number, and we want you'll get an email with that application number as well, also with a copy of the application submission that you made. And we want you to keep that application number, because what happens is that if there's a need for follow-up, the reviewers will call, or folks within our Department of Finance will call, and they would reference the application number in order for them before they could ask you questions about the application. I helped my dad apply, but there was no number on the email. Should we? No. So Isabel, don't resubmit. What I want you to do is, if you're on this site right now, I want you to. I'm scrolling down on the site. There's this email right here, the Bees Info COVID-19. Please send us an email send us an email with the name of the entity, and we'll make sure that we'll get you your application number, right? So send the email to this. we were having some technology problem, and that system was not generating application numbers at that time, most likely the time that you applied. So please send us an email right here, and I'll make sure that you get your application number. Thank you for that question. Okay, let me go to the next question. Since we don't know yet if we're getting the federal funds, we can't use, how would we use these funds to, okay. So I think Judy is trying to ask in terms of, since no one knows if they're getting the federal funds or getting state funds, the use of our funds. So there are no restrictions in terms of the use of our funds. The only thing is that, for example, in the back end, if you use our funds to, let's say, pay utilities or pay rent, then if you do receive money from the feds, then let's say you use that for payroll, then that's perfectly fine. But what we're looking for is that if you receive money for from the SBA to do payroll, then use our funds to either pay rent or pay utilities. So whereby, as I say, it's not like you're using the two funds for the same purpose. In other words, there are no restrictions. If you use the federal funds to do one thing, you can use our funds to do for something else. So it could be payroll, utilities, taxes, and other expenditures that your business or your nonprofits would face within this time. Okay, let me go to the next question. We submitted our corporate taxes via email or via e-filing. I'm attempting to get clean tax returns from my accountant. Okay, everything I've said, do not mail. Is that applicable? That's a good question. Rahul, can you unmute yourself? I need to make sure I understand. Are you able to get the taxes, or because I know we're asking for signed tax returns, so I don't know if that's what
Correct.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, there you go.
That's okay. That's good.
You're referencing.
Basically,
yeah, go ahead.
So I have every corporate tax return I have has across it saying do not mail, do not mail. It's like a watermark.
Yes.
I can print each of them has a document that I know for my e-file signature. I can reprint those and re-sign them. I have receipts from my accountant saying that they were submitted, but I don't have a clean, sheet of each corporate tax return that says, just that doesn't say do not mail. Yes. I've asked my accountant, but I haven't received them yet.
No. So sign the ones that you can print and then scan those and send it to us. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Even if it says do not mail on it. That's okay.
Well, yeah, because again, we're looking for historic financials, and these are things, as I say, once you've submitted them and once you've signed them to us, those are copies that we will basically keep within our records. So you don't have to worry about getting the clean ones per se. The ones that you have, print them, sign them, and send them over to us. And
great. Thank you so much.
Have you already submitted your application?
No, I have not. This is what I was waiting for.
I wanted to say, if you submitted it already, I was going to give you the email for you to send those to. But go ahead and submit.
I'll do it today. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right, let me go to the next question. For S Corps, the 2 years of tax returns that you, hold on, let me go back up. 1 second. All right, for an S Corp, the 2 years tax returns that you want, that's the 1120S for 2018, 2019, correct? So Joanne, we need the entire tax return for the entity. So if those are the part of your portion of the entity that you can submit that. But again, if for 2018 and 2019 is what we need. If you don't have 2019, you can submit the one for 2017 and 2018. We need 2 years of that. And then again, as I say, if you do quarterly filings, submit that for us to look at in terms of the January, February, and March. You do not need any 1040 from us personal. That's correct, Joanne. We don't need any personal tax return, except if you are a sole proprietor, then we need your Schedule C. And we know that the Schedule Cs are not signed. That's fine. We just need the Schedule C. Define use of funds for operating expenses. Monthly. Yes, Joanne, yes, those examples are absolutely correct. There are no restrictions on the legislation in terms of use of funds. So anything that has to do with operating expenses will be will fit within the definition. Okay, the next one is the micro grant. Okay, that just went up. Let me read that again. Is the micro grant for telework part of the 10,000 limit or in addition? Maryland is in addition to the 10,000. So for those who applied for the micro, and this is the one I talked about earlier. So in addition to the grant, there's a telework grant that's also part of this program as well, which is up to $2,500 for hardware or software. So yes, Maryland, if the $10,000 would be in addition, would be that, and then in addition to that would be the whatever amount that the entity qualifies for the telework grant. Okay, are you saying you want 2 years of monthly profit and loss statement? Judy, yes, that's what we're saying. Well, if you have, we need three months actually, because we need January, February, and March, right? Because let me explain what is it that the calculations in the back end. The 2 year will give us historic averages and also monthly top line revenues. And then the month of January, February, and March will help us determine the loss in revenues, right? Because we'll have the historic averages, and then in March we'll see the dip that took place as a result of COVID-19. And that's the period at which we are looking. All right, I thought you just need 2 years of annual corporate tax, and we need not. Yeah, so the 2 years, Judy, is to again to give us the historic baseline in terms of revenues. If you go back to, let me scroll down to the documentations that are needed. That's under number 2. You see here we talk about these are the things that we need right here, but then we say and there's an and right here that talks about the current the current financials that we need to determine, right? So we need to basically look at the historic and then look at the current to determine eligibility based on the loss in revenues. Okay, let me go to the next question. Please explain about the expenses in percentages. That's a good question, Lily. So the percentages in that we're looking for, so we will, based on all the financials you're providing to us, we'll be able to calculate in terms of your eligibility, but also the amount that you're eligible for. And then what we're looking at for you to provide to us is that the use of those funds that we will determine that you're eligible for, that the county will grant you. So in other words, let's say, for example, if the funds that you're applying for, if 50% of those funds will go towards your operational expenses, then make sure you indicate those, just put the amount, the percentages there. Let's say if 20% will go towards your utilities, you put the amount there. Again, there are no restrictions in the use of funds. So in other words, at the end of the program, when you're reporting, if you report that you spent X amount or X percentage on, let's say, for example, rent, which is greater, that is fine. Or you spend X percentage on utilities when you didn't indicate that you're going to spend anything on utilities, that is also fine. Because once again, the funds were used within, again, the parameters that were set in the legislation and the executive regs, that should be fine. You wouldn't have any problem with that in terms of providing the reporting to us. All right, let me see. The next question is, there was no place in application to specify the micro grant except for the part to submit invoices for telework. are you automatically considering a $2,500 Telework grant if we upload a receipt for Telework? Yes, Sylvia, that's correct. So those who would want to be considered for the Telework grant, which is up to $2,500, need to submit either an invoice if you already purchased one, or a proposal if you are looking to purchase one. All right, the next question is, if those monthly financials for January, February were not submitted originally, how does someone add document? That's a great question, Marilyn. Let me come back down here to the B's COVID-19 email. This one here, I'm just gonna highlight that. All documents that were not submitted, if you send the documents to this email address, we will make sure that, and also just indicate if you have an application number, just indicate your application number on the tab on the email, include your application number on the email, and then we'll make sure that this is attached to your file. So again, anyone who submitted their applications and were not able to attach the documents, please send your documents to the email I just highlighted, which is the B's info COVID-19 at montgomerycountymd.gov, and we'll make sure that your application, the files you send to us get attached to your application. All right, let me go to the next one. Okay, how would you make a correction to an application that has already been submitted? Janice, so we have reviewers that are looking at all the applications. If there are any, let's say, inconsistency, they would call the applicant. And that's why, again, every application has an application number. And we're basically encouraging you to keep that application number until you hear back from us.
Okay, Daniel, can you hear me, Daniel?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I was working with someone and they did submit something. One of the main problem is that they left the phone number for the business, and of course the business has been shut down until they can reopen. So the number they sent is not a number that they can be contacted on. So I guess he wants to put in a number where he can be contacted if he happens to be one of those selected.
Okay, so then I would say get the application, tell them to send us an email to this email address, and tell the person to copy me. I mean, my email address is daniel.koroma@montgomerycountymd.gov. I'm going to put it in the chat box so that everyone has it. And what would happen then would be we will make sure that that information is added to the file. Okay, thank you, Janice. All right, let me go to the next question. These questions are great. Is there any way to watch prior webinars for yesterday and Wednesday? Marilyn, so the challenge we have right now is capacity. So we want to make sure the videos are available, yes. But we're trying to get them trying to see how we can get them into the county's technology system. But remember, we're using a local small business to do these webinars. The challenges there technologically when it comes to any government entity, right, using private information or private webinars. But we're working through that, and the goal is we need to get all of this up. But for now, I believe you can go to Buzz 365 Media. You can watch them there. However, I agree there are some that we've done that we want to put, and we've already submitted that to our Public Information Office and our Department of Technology Services. So hopefully we'll be able to get at least one or couple of these webinars done on the website. All right.
Hello?
Yes.
This is Angela James. I have a question. I was not able to upload my financial information, and I just, where could I send that?
Hi, Angela. I'm highlighting the email address right here, which is bisinfo COVID-19.
Oh, okay.
At montgomerycountymd.gov. Just email that and attach those documents.
My that tax return is quite lengthy. Is there a fax number?
No, everything we're doing, it's has to be emailed to us. All. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I will email it then.
All right,
Okay.
thank you, Angela. Can you please mute yourself again, please?
Sure.
All right. Okay. Let me go to the next question. I need a laptop to telework. I have not yet purchased one. So what quotes do you need? Just a price? Yes, Joanne. Yes, we just need. Well, we need the just a regular quote. If you're going, if you're shopping for something online, the specs of that and then the amount. That's all you need to submit. So let's say, for example, you're buying X amount of let's say X type of laptop, right? And it will have the specifications on what the laptop is in terms of gate, storage space, and all that. I'm pretty sure you know what I mean. The specification should be on there, and then the amount for the laptop. That would be a usual quote in order for you to make a decision to say, okay, yes, I want this one versus this other one. So in other words, if you're buying a laptop that has, let's say, 200 gigs or 300 gigs that has maybe 100 gigs of RAM, right? So those are the things that we need to see in terms of the specification of the equipment you're buying. Or the software, by the way, it's not only hardware, this could be a software as well. And it could also be subscription, right? Some of the entities now, they have to use Zoom, and you may have to, pay for a Zoom subscription. If you get a quote, you go to the price list, you get a quote from that, you can submit that to us. Okay, let me go to the next one. Okay, once I see to apply online, does it time out? I was rushing with the PPP because I had to get other info and was afraid it would time out. So Joanne, that's why we've been doing these seminars for the last 2 weeks so that people would prepare, because in as much as it may not time out, but if your browser refresh itself, and some browsers can do that, then you would lose all the data that you've already inputted. No one is able to save the application. So, which means that again, once you're prepared, you sit down. Please make sure you already have the attachments that you're going to be attaching to the application, and then also you do it at one stretch. The time frame we've been getting right now, people are saying between 15 minutes to 20 minutes or so. And some people have actually done it faster than 15 to 20 minutes in terms of filling out the application and attaching the documents that we're requesting. Okay, let me see. All right, there you go. So for someone, I think it was Marilyn who asked about the videos. Danielle is with 365, Buzz 365 Media. And she just posted something on YouTube, which I think these webinars are actually available there, I believe. Okay. All right. Let me see. All right. Another question is follow-up question for Telework grant. Is the 50% loss in March revenues part of the consideration for the grant, or is the Telework funds granted for any business as long as they can demonstrate need for telework? Sylvia, no, the eligibility for the entire grant is based on the, again, 50% loss in revenues, of course, principal place of business, or numbers of employees, 50% or more of your employees working in Montgomery County. And then when you are eligible within those criteria, then you will also receive up to $2,500 for the telework grant if you submit an invoice or a proposal. All right, the next question is, if great loss of revenue will show for us in April, but not in March, should we apply now and then update it, or wait until beginning of May to send April information? Natalia, so I would not encourage you to apply now if you're lost, if you haven't seen any losses in March. Why? Because the applications that are being reviewed right now is for losses in March. Now, again, there's no deadline in the application, which means that come April, and if we still have funds, we will let everybody know to apply for the losses in April. And at that time is when I would recommend that you apply. Because right now, I mean, if you apply right now, your application will be denied because there will be no loss in revenues for March. Okay, let me go to the next one. Define intended use of funds, taxes. What taxes can I pay? So, Joanne, this will be any other taxes that you've been paying for your entities. It could be payroll tax. It could be your business personal property tax. Any tax that you've always paid. These funds can also be used to pay those taxes as well. And I know that, I mean, I don't want to go into in terms of deferred taxes and all that, but as I say, any taxes that are due that your entity has been paying, these funds can also be used to pay those taxes. The next question is, will we get a link to this video? Okay, I believe, there you go. So Danielle has answered that question, Marilyn, and the link is right at the bottom. Sorry, did not see the chat from, okay, that's fine. All right, so I've read all the questions on the chat box. We have a few more minutes. If you want to unmute yourself, you can please go ahead and do that and ask your question.
Okay, this is Angela James again. What proof do we need to show that we've lost revenue?
Taxes. That's how we will see your gross revenues, and we're asking for
taxes. You mean my tax return?
Well, again, it depends on your entity type. So if you're a sole proprietor, we need your Schedule C. We need 2 years of Schedule C. Then we need your monthly for January, February, March profit and loss statement.
So we have to pay to have a profit and loss statement. What else can you use other than a profit and loss? Because my accountant charges
if your small business have 5 or fewer employees, you can send us your tax your bank statement.
Okay, I can send from January up to now the bank statement. Okay,
that's correct.
And the Schedule C that's just the 1040, right? The personal return.
No. So in your personal, as a sole proprietor, when you're filing your personal tax returns, which includes in terms of your business income, then there's a Schedule C.
I saw a Schedule K. I didn't see a Schedule C. I saw a Schedule K. It was K.
So is that where your business tax income?
Yes.
Your business, okay. Your revenues are yeah. So it could be okay. So what type of entities? What type of taxes?
I am an LLC.
Oh, yeah, LLC. Okay, yeah. So but we need your entire are you a single member LLC?
Yeah. Well, so my husband and I, we're partners.
Okay, so then submit your entire taxes then.
So 2018 and 2019.
That is correct.
Okay, then thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anyone else? Can you please mute yourself again?
Sure.
Any other question?
Yes. Could you repeat the location for downloading the sample application?
Sure. So if you're watching the webinar right now, I'm going to go there. Right here, I just highlighted the sample application.
All
and
right.
The sample application, gives you all the questions that are on the live form online.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. We also have FAQs as well, which we've provided. So for frequently asked questions, you don't have to wait till this webinars. You can just easily, check and see if we've already answered, and I'm highlighting the FAQs as well. But again, we're going to be here, as I say, Monday through Saturday this week. Last week we're here, this week we're here, and next week we're also going to be here as well. Today, my colleagues, I told them to continue to work. As I said, the volume is so much in the back end, and I know I can handle most of the questions. And if I didn't, and the questions that came in that I couldn't answer, I would have taken it back to them and say, hey, what are you guys looking for when it comes to this question? So, but the idea is that I don't want to take 1 hour of their time when they could be reviewing multiple applications in the back end. All right, but also we've provided this the information in several languages. I want to also make sure I highlight that. So if you're working with any business that may need help in other languages, the flyers are here. and we have them in Amharic, English, French, Korean, Mandarin, Spanish, and Vietnamese. But also we have some of our business resource partners, our chamber partners, and other business and nonprofit groups who have agreed to help us in terms of if there are people looking for help when it comes to filling out the application. So we really want to thank those organizations. If I'm highlighting this link right here, so if you know someone who needs help, if you click on this link, it brings up all the entities in Montgomery County that have agreed to help us if people need help in filling out the application. Some of them you will send them an email, some of them you will give them a call. But also we've put in terms of their language capacity as well. So you can see basically in terms of the languages that they will be able to help businesses or nonprofits fill out the application or answer questions. All right. I'll take one more question. If anyone has a question, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask. Oh, okay.
Daniel, this is Marilyn. I just got an email from another colleague saying that she'd heard that the grant was shut down. I told her that was not the case. That it's up and running.
Yeah, it's up and running, except if it happened when I'm on this webinar, but it's up and running. In fact, actually, you know what?
That's what I told her.
There you go. If you're watching the screen right now,
Yeah.
Let me see. Yep, it's up and running. This is the application. This is the live application I just clicked on. Yep.
That's what I told her. There's rumor control.
That's correct. Thank you, Marilyn. We really appreciate your partnership. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much, everyone. We know that these are not easy times for all of us, but we're doing our best. You can tell that's why before I used to have maybe 2 or 3 people with me, to talk about the program. Now I'm the only one. I can guarantee you that I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here Monday through Saturday, but I'll try to draw one of them at a time, maybe for the session tomorrow. But because of the volume, again, instead of keeping them here for 1 hour, it's better for them to just go through maybe 3 or 4 applications in 1 hour, because we want to make sure we get this money as fast as possible to those who are eligible. So with that being said, thank you so much again to everyone. And I want to give a shout out to Buzz 365 Media. This is their local small business that have really stepped up helping the county for us to put all of these together. So thank you so much, everyone. And please be safe out there. And with that being said, we will go ahead and end this session now.
Hi, I'm Daniel with Buzz 365 Media. We do in-person and remote live stream video productions. If you are having technical difficulties setting up a virtual meeting, conference, or workshop, give me a call. Buzz 365 Media is here to help you.